Here's an example of one that's been sitting. This one was from last year I picked up, and you can see they didn't clean off the flux off the board. So you can see the flux. You could see the board is quite if I zoom in, you can see that just by cleaning it up, I've cleaned up that trace. You can see the discoloration here. I'll see if I can clean that up and see the difference. So there you can see just a little bit of a pink eraser, and those were sitting out since last year. So you can kind of see some of the mistakes. So as you come along, they're not completely out to the edges. They're kind of rough. They're not smooth. You can't feel much of the legs of the resistors. This one I can see the legs sticking out. I don't know if it's soldered completely. You can see the different layers of solder. These ones obviously were cut off afterwards. They're way too much solder. These ones have the opening still in between. This one didn't flow out to the sides. Again, didn't flow. These ones are very dull compared to these ones. The shininess, so that could be temperature. Notice this one's been cut off afterwards. And this one here, you can't really even see the leg, so I don't know if it's soldered or not. That's why I want to just be able to feel it. Looking through this one, I can see a crack almost in that side that's not completely soldered. Actually a couple. So now what I want to do is I'll flip it over and we'll look at the actual components. So looking at the components, what do we see? Well, the transistor is pretty tight to the board. The vertical resistor is tight. Those resistors don't have much of a gap. That one is in the middle is touching. The capacitors are right down on the board. So now in the event that we did make a mistake, which is okay, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to remove the solder. Now I'm going to show you the correct way, and then I'm going to show you the incorrect way. So we're going to use wick because you have it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our wick and we're going to place it down. We'll try this one. Place it down. Our iron on top, and we're going to just lightly put a little bit of pressure on it to get it to start to flow. And I can see it flowing in there, and hopefully might have to move it a little bit if it's hot. I can see the solder flowing, and I should be good. I can see there I have the holes are opening. You put a little bit more just to make sure I can get the component out. So put more heat on it, and there I've seen it all kind of leave. Now, one thing you're going to have to do is make sure the component isn't touching the side. So what you want to do is just, with your iron, make sure it's nice and loose and it's not stuck to the trace. Remember that those copper traces are just glued to that board. If you press on that hard, it's going to lift off the board. So what do I have to do? Well, let's show you. So I'm going to take my wick and I'm going to get a little bit more pressure on it. And if I'm not careful, what's going to happen is it should, oops. So it should, so now if I don't take it off and I move it around, I'm pushing on it really hard, what's going to happen is it's going to probably damage my board. Now the first thing you can see is the coloring, right? It's starting to burn the flux, and it's probably going to start lifting up that the trace. So what I want to do is only do light pressure. How about soldering? Well, let's try this again, doing it wrong. Let's just add a whole bunch of solder, right? Keep adding it, because that's what I like there. Lots of solder. And I'm going to go right up to there, and I'm going to get careless. Keep adding more and more solder. And look at that, it's now jumped across the trace and caused me a problem. So I got way too much solder on there. Not good. So I only need a little bit of solder to cover the traces. I can trace and cover all the traces when I'm done so the copper's not exposed. That's up to you. But you should have each pad covered. So right to the edge. I don't want to just do one of these. Oops. Right, just do it a little bit. That's not good enough. So make sure I have that right out to the edge so that it's covered.